Hi, my name's Zoe Herrmann, and I'm a naturopath at Coeliac Naturopath. And I'm very excited to be asked by the Free From Allergy group to speak this week at Celiac Awareness Week. I also run a free Facebook group that you're welcome to join. It's called the Healthy Celiac Hub, where I share some tips about living with celiac disease and gluten intolerance. So first, I'll tell my story. So growing up, I was actually quite a healthy kid. I was into running and athletics. And through my teenage years, I was age champion at my school for sports and athletics. I did have eczema on my face that was annoying, and and acne around my mouth, and but apart from that, I was pretty healthy. I did have a bad bout of food poisoning when I was about 16 that my mother nearly took me to hospital for. It was that bad. And then I left home and I went and moved to Tasmania to study marine engineering with I was going to be a marine engineer on cargo vessels, the merchant navy. So moved down there. My diet wasn't great when I was down there studying my degree, living on tea and toast mostly. I did develop glandular fever while I was down there. The food poisoning and the glandular fever, I tell that for a reason, because I think that's part of, the triggering of the disease as well. So, I went away and worked on ships as an engineer. And through that time, I did suffer from depression. And it wasn't anything circumstantial to explain it. And, that was pretty tough. It was about a year. And it was a pretty dark time for me. I also remember when I used to go for a run or go out, I'd really need to know where the nearest toilet was, because there was, at times that urgency, which was, embarrassing and inconvenient too. So around about 20 years ago, my grandmother was very ill in hospital, and she was actually diagnosed celiac, not for, I think she got diagnosed quite late. She suffered from some health issues over her life. But she was in hospital at that time as a diagnosed celiac, having a reaction, quite extreme reaction. She nearly died. So I was at the doctor for something, and I just said, by the way, can we just test for celiac disease? My grandmother has that, and she's quite ill. And the blood test came back as showing high antibodies. And then so I was sent off to the gastroenterologist and booked in for a scope. And I'll never forget the phone call of the gastroenterologist calling me and confirming that, yes, I did have celiac disease. I remember the gastroenterologist laughing and saying it's not a jail sentence. However, it very much felt like it. And at the time, I wasn't cooking for myself much at all. I'd live on the ship for 2 months at a time. So, there was a cook on board that provided all the meals. And when I was off on my holidays, I would eat out a lot, go to cafes and restaurants. So I really wasn't used to preparing my own food. And then navigating, 20 years ago, there was less awareness of gluten, the need for gluten-free foods, and certainly contamination was a problem as well. So the transition for me to go gluten-free was a bit interesting, things out of my control a bit. So on the ships, some cooks were great, and they were very interested in learning about providing gluten-free food, and they attempted to to not contaminate my food as well. Other cooks didn't care, and it wasn't a priority for them at all. So I ended up buying myself an electric wok and going into the dry stores and the food and preparing my own food at times. When I could, I had a little pantry on where my cabin was. And I used to make my own food then, if I needed to. And I think we've all got those stories, haven't we, as celiacs and gluten intolerance, where I vividly remember being, my partner was on a wedding party. And so come the dinner, I sat with my partner with the wedding party. And I remember all the wedding party, the bride and groom and all the bridesmaids and groomsmen were given their meals. And my special meal had not arrived yet. And I could see that they were all waiting for me. And I was absolutely horrified. I just wanted the ground to open up and swallow me up, that my diet requirements would hold up a bride and groom at their wedding and their meals get cold. And, I said, please start your meals. But of course they waited. So it's such the social impact of having celiac disease is just so big at, those particular big events. And, of course, I really feel for the children, when they can't eat things at parties. So I think it's a really important topic that we need to talk about. And how do we navigate, particularly for the children, but also for us. I know even as an adult, I make sure that if there's going to be something special that I can't eat, that we make sure that there's an alternative. So I also went to see a naturopath myself to help heal my body after diagnosis. And I became so interested in natural medicine that I went on to become a naturopath myself. So, you might know there's all sorts of things that you can take to help heal that mucosal layer that's damaged as a celiac. Today, I'll just be talking about some food and some practical things that you can do yourself at home. So today, I want to be talking about what else can we do to support digestion as celiacs. We're told that we just need to go gluten-free, but what else is there? And I'll be touching on maybe not relying so much on processed gluten-free foods. And finally, I'll be speaking about seasonality, eating foods that are in season at the time and why that's important. So first of all, I'll speak about digestion. So what can we do? Celiacs and gluten intolerance were people where our digestion is compromised. So typically, particularly around diagnosis, our digestive enzymes are low. So we really need to think about how can we support our bodies to digest our foods that we're eating. And the first thing I want to talk about is just slowing down. We're in such a habit of racing around and eating on the run and not giving much thought to our food, not planning it. So it's really good to plan what we're eating and to be mindful in that food preparation. And then when it comes to eat, to just check in with yourself and to see, are you feeling stressed? Maybe take some 3 deep, slow breaths before you start eating. Sit down and close your eyes and check in on yourself. And look at your beautiful food that you've prepared for yourself And even that, that starts the whole digestive process. We know when we start looking at delicious food and, the saliva in our mouths starts to increase, that starts actually, the digestive process. And of course, chewing our food well is going to help as well. And just eating slowly. So if we can just, take some time and nourish our bodies, with what we've prepared. It might not be a gourmet meal, but, to really think about all those foods that you've put on your plate that you want your body to break down all the goodness out of that, and to take advantage of all those good foods that you're eating. The other thing too that we can do to increase digestion is if we're eating any grains or pulses. So quinoa as a good example, or lentils or beans, that we're soaking those. We're giving them a wash. We're washing off anything on the outside, and we're soaking them. I like to use a little bit of apple cider vinegar to start break down some of those things on the outside that are going to make it harder for your body to digest them. And so that's going to help. And so the next thing we're talking about is not relying too much on gluten-free processed foods. So I know how exciting it is when there's gluten-free foods that we're, we don't come across so easily. I've got gluten-free donuts local to me that are at the markets every week, which is so exciting. I mean, even for me, and especially for children too. But of course, these things are not for every day. It's a great treat for once a week, but not all the time. And also, even other foods that are gluten-free, for example, breads and wraps and crackers. Well, we're very good at, a lot of us have, learned how to read labels, and we work out, is this gluten-free or not? But how about we think about what else is in those processed foods? Okay, there might not be gluten in it, but is that really going to be supportive of your body? And is it actually food? But, I see so many gluten-free breads that, if you look at the ingredients, do you really want to be eating this? So, maybe it's not an everyday food. And I mean, there are some great breads on the market, but some of them are, there's just way too many weird ingredients for me, and numbers and things. So really to look at preparing your own foods, and if you've got some great gluten-free bread recipes, that'd be great to share as well. So the next thing I want to touch on is seasonality as well. So seasonality, so eating foods that are in season, which it's a little bit hard to work that out these days, because when we go to the supermarket, we can get pretty much every fruit and vegetable, that's in season throughout the year, because we get fruit and vegetables from overseas as well. So going to places like the farmers market and places like that to support the local farmers is a great way to work out what's in season. And this is important because, different foods that grow that are in season at different times of the year will support your body in different ways. So, for example, a great example of this is during wintertime, the citrus are in season. So the oranges and the lemons, and so that's a time where your body needs higher vitamin C, for example. And and the root vegetables over autumn and winter, the pumpkins in season, and how beautiful to have a slow cook over winter to really nourish your body. It doesn't feel good for me to eat a cold salad on a cold winter's day. That's, it's more suited to eat a beautiful, warm, slow-cooked meal and a soup and those warming from the inside meals. And of course, during summer, that's when we eat those lighter foods, the salads, and that's suited, and that's going to support your body in that way as well. So yeah, just to round up, we've spoken about how to support digestion as celiacs, and we touched on slowing down, taking time with your food. Try and stop the rush. I mean, I know sometimes we have to reach for those convenient foods and quick takeaways. Hopefully you've got some healthy quick takeaways. Some days we have to do that. I'm a mother with 2 children, so but just not every day. And soaking your grains when you can, remembering just to slow down, and chewing your food properly. And the other point with that is not having a lot of water when you're eating as well, because that's going to dilute your stomach acid and not help with digestion. So having water away from your meals more. And we spoke about not relying on too much processed foods either. As much as it's hard to consider it a swap out. I think that transition time of when you're first diagnosed, that's a great time to, okay, we'll swap this for this, gluten-free. But then over time to move towards a more whole food diet where you're preparing a lot of foods yourself, and you really know what you're actually eating. That mouthful, it's going to support your body and nourish it, not make it more unhealthy and increase inflammation in your body. And then we spoke about seasonality and the importance of eating foods that are in season, and why that's important. So that's it from me today. So happy Celiac Awareness Week, and thanks Free From an Allergy group for having me. And yeah, please come over and join the Healthy Celiac Hub on Facebook, the group that I run, where I'll be sharing more tips for celiac and gluten intolerant people. That's it from me. Thank you.